Okay, perfect. So we're ready. Let's get started. So first, well, this is how the academy is structured. We have some time for discussing the theoretical part. What is inner source? What are their benefits? Maybe explore some other companies that are doing inner source. You will see all the theoretical part. We're gonna have a practice part. Actually, it's a little bit like shorter. It should be like half an hour. We got that feedback from last time. We're gonna add inner source to a project, and we're gonna discuss that together. How to make a project inner source friendly, and then we're gonna play a game to see if you guys got at the concepts. Okay. So first of all, what is inner source? Okay, that's I think the bigger question. I would like to ask you before I tell you the official definition. Maybe you can uh, raise your hand like this if you've ever or like you have some experience with open source or inner source in general. You can just raise your hand like this. If not, it's okay. Well, okay. So none of you have ever worked with inner source or open source. Perfect. So I will tell you how it works. I'll go. Oh, Pascal, you had a little
Yes,
bit of experience.
only but for intellectual property point of view. So I'm not sure it would be really very helpful for you today.
I will be interested in comparing the perspective because I suppose the philosophy is the same, but maybe the implementation is different. But
Yeah.
we can put a pin on that because
To
I'm curious.
compare if Apache is more pertinent, accurate, and so on, but not in practicing.
Ah, nice, 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 nice. How about you, Ahmed?
Yes, so about the inner source, the idea is to work on open source. How can I say that? The adopt all open source process into a new organization that implements teams that are not directly involved in the product. So you have the product team and also other teams that can contribute to the product.
Nice. Well, I think you pretty much got it. Maybe you check the slides. I like that because it's literally what it is. Inner source is using open source practices inside of company projects, right? And we will explore what are these open source practices because they're not obvious for everyone. Um, so in order to tell you how they work, um, first we go a little bit on details how those open source work. First, we want to explore a normal way to develop products, right? So we have one team, right? That will be represented on the left side. Maybe a product owner, a product leader. We have a developer or some developers. We have some product managers. They create a single team, and then this team produces code. They use maybe Jira, maybe use Scrum or Kanban. This code is validated by developers in the same team, and is tested. And all the tickets actually are created by the product leaders, product managers on the same team. And this, after they created this validation, they release a tech product. If there is a bug, they take it, and everything is done in the same team. Like everything is done in the team that is creating the product. So no sharing, no other teams are involved, nothing. This is actually pretty easy to work with. I suppose that most of you guys have worked in a similar approach to this diagram, where you have your team, and your team is doing your stuff, and that's it. Normal way. However, when we start working with inner source or open source, things get a little bit more. They expand a bit. Let's compare. So instead of having one single team, you're gonna have multiple teams usually, because most of the times open or inner source products are created by many teams or people that they have different contexts and backgrounds. So in this case, for example, we have team one that has themselves some product owner, manager, and developers. Team two that also have product owner, product managers, and developers. We can have solo developers as well that work in the same project but being part of different teams. Or as I mentioned, developers that they don't have any team, they just like to the project and they want to contribute or learn, so they're part of the community, and that's it. That's the main focus, like having an inner source community that works in a particular project. So you get more people involved in a product, okay, when you have more people, usually achieving consensus is harder. We will see how to fix that. When you're working with multiple people, usually decisions take longer to be decided. It usually takes more effort to bring people on board because it's a longer project, right? We'll see all of these pain points and how to address them. But I want you guys to understand first how does it look like? How does this model works? So this inner source community will produce some code, of course, and it's going to be validated not only by the core team or like the team that works particularly in the product, but it could be validated by other people that are not even part of the team. You know, there's more like a bigger sense of communication. All like the community itself can give feedback on testing the feature, validating the code, searching for bugs. You know, the more inner source friendly a product is, the more input from people will have. Okay. At the same time, these products are, released, and as I mentioned, the community detects the bugs, so we're good. So as you can see, there's more people involved. There's this community involved. Usually, it's a little bit longer. We'll see how does it look like. Does this make sense so far? Is just maybe you can raise your hand if it makes sense so far. Sometimes I ask my students to write one, but sometimes they don't find the one in the keyboard because it's a French keyboard. So I'm not sure about you guys, but okay, perfect. So benefits. I mean, so far it sounds that I'm trying to push you not to do inner source, right? Because I'm telling you it's gonna take longer and it's gonna be like a little bit more complicated, but there's actually a lot of benefits on it. The first one is I would like to go with this number 2 directly. No blockers who are developing new features. So let's say I have a product, right? A very common product, it's Mosaic. It's a design library. We will explore it later. This Mosaic library, it's inner source friendly. And let's say I want to add a new feature to this Mosaic thing because my project requires to. So actually, I can show you now. So it's a design library that is created for within Adeo, and its responsibility is to give you components that are used on many pages, you know, like buttons or like cards like this, and it just gives you a very easy code to copy paste, and yeah, that's it. I don't spend much time doing the code from scratch and everything, so it's longer. So let's say I want to add a new component to this design system. You know, if Mosaic was not inner source, I will need to make a request to the Mosaic team to do the feature, right? To do the new component. This takes a long time, especially if the team is, you know, like blocked, or like the team is like having last minute things, or maybe everyone is in holiday. That can happen. So if, especially, you know, in August, right? I have to add a component in July, August. Oh God, yeah, good luck, you know. So since this project is inner source friendly, I can avoid that. I don't need to send a request to this developing team. I can check the documentation myself, and I can create the component myself following some guidelines as a contributing team. Okay, that's like the biggest benefit, that you will not be blocked anymore if your project is inner source, and the team of Mosaic will also receive like free help. And I'm saying quote free because it's not free, but they will not be actively part of the development of the feature, right? They're just gonna give you the review, maybe some okay, but the project is open to contribution, so that's very powerful. The second one, and something that I like, is leading is more important than adapting. That means, especially for middle management in big companies, sometimes it's hard to take responsibility of projects, right? Because there's always a guy that will tell you what to do. Normally, what I saw in what I discussed with some product managers, and when you have this responsibility of, you know, just sending the requests, the pull request, the code for your feature, then you start leading instead of adapting, because you're responsible of taking more decisions, because the product itself is not that centralized anymore. It has input, it receives input from many people, and you can start giving some direction on how would you like to utilize, or how would you like, what feature would you like to add. Okay. Something also very important. I don't know if you guys saw that you were on the Dev Summit, but inner source is a big priority for Adeo. So the CTO himself said, "Okay, guys, if you do inner source, that's something that's gonna be helpful for you in your career, right? Like it's something that 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 that's great to mention with your managers. We're working in this project. It's gonna be very well like received usually." Two-side help. You can use your project as a learning tool for other teams. So that means people come to you to learn about your technology, project technology. In this case, for example, for Mosaic, if you have some developers that want to learn React, there is a React part that can help them learn React while they contribute to this library. That's very helpful. And also your team learns from other projects, right? Maybe you learn develop, you learn you give developers to other projects. They're gonna learn as well. And last but not least, developers love open source. Like this collaboration sense and having your code being exposed and validated and used by many people, it's something we really like. So it's always bonus. We'll see in some success cases later on. But when you have this open source, inner source thing in your projects, developers tend to stay longer working for you because they really really like it. Okay, and as I was mentioning, I have two study cases for companies that have had done inner source and with some metrics. So we start with PayPal, right? That actually are a big contributors to this inner source global effort. PayPal managed to decrease ticket escalation by 60%. And the reason of that is because, as I mentioned, since you don't need to, like, let's say you want to add a new feature to a product, you don't, if the product is inner source, you don't need to make the escalation of management to tell your boss that tells his boss to work on your stuff. You can just work on that stuff directly. So that's why the ticket escalation lowered a lot. And also the developer satisfaction. PayPal does surveys every 3 months. And whenever they started implementing inner source in their products, they start realizing that the developers were happier. They're working in a better, more like cozy environment. That's the thing. And they tend to stay longer working for a particular project. Same as Dodge. The numbers are a little bit different, but they're higher. Maybe we missed a number here. But the numbers are pretty similar. Like I saw a study about several companies, then all of them decreased ticket escalation and developer satisfaction. Okay. All right. So now I would like to mention, after we saw how we do inner source in other companies, how do we do it at the moment in Adeo? What is the current effort? What is the existing effort? And we have, I have 4 projects for you. There's more, of course, but these 4 projects are the ones that I like the best, because they have a strong community, they have a very solid communication system, and yeah. So I would like to explore them with you. So first, we have Mosaic, and I show you what Mosaic is doing. The responsibility is create components for websites used by Adeo. So you will have, for example, the same model like this in all the pages within the company, or you have the same, I suppose, the same hero banner like this, big banner, yeah, that goes in every big page. All of the if the company approves this, it will be in all the pages. So that's very helpful. Uh, if you want to contribute to this design system library, they have a nice appendix here that allows you to check. Okay, let's say I'm a developer, I want to contribute. What do I do? So they give you some nice instructions to set up your project. We're gonna see how to do this later, but I want you to see how easy for me is to find the instructions if I want to contribute to the Mosaic design system, for example. Okay. Maybe there's some conventions. Maybe if I am a designer instead of a developer, I could use the design system that there's available, for example, in Figma somewhere or in Sketch. Yeah, so they have a big part on their guide to show how to contribute to the project. That's very helpful. That's for Mosaic. Now we have another one. We have Kobe. Do you guys know what Kobe does? Before I tell you, Ahmed, Pascal, you are good. Okay. Pierre, Matthias, have you worked with Kobe? Okay, cool. I think it's on your formation. I remember. Yeah, Matthias got it. Pierre, Pierre, how about you? Have you ever heard about Kobe?
Yes, I heard about it.
Amazing, amazing. So I will just go really quick. Then I will not go much in detail. But every website for example, in Leroy Merlin, has several like pages, right? Let's say this page of the result page. So there is one team that is working on the filters, right, on the left side, and there's another team working in the results part. Okay, each one of them has their own application, but they have to talk to each other at some point. They have to be synchronized, and Kobe is the one synchronizing both of these interfaces, or microfrontends, how they call it. So just as a quick refresher, and Kobe has not open inner source the whole Kobe engine, right? They're not open to contributions at the moment in saying how the orchestration or how the connection is done, but they have a different part of their code base open to contributions, and it's a starter hub templates. So if you want to create a new project using Kobe, using a particular library like Vue, React, or I don't know, there is a template that gives you some boilerplate code. This is the part that is open to open source. You can either create your template, and people will add some contributions to your template, or you can contribute to other people's template. So we have, for example, templates for Vue, templates for React, for Angular, different front-end libraries. They're open to open source. We discussed with the Kobe team how they're doing inner source. Actually, there's some improvement points, and yeah, we because, for example, the contributing part is not that easy to find. We'll see how we can correct these points, and developers have easier access to your contribution instructions. But this is how it's done also here. For example, we have another point, GitHub scripts. Okay, this is a repository that for the technical people, you might remember that when you send a pull request in GitHub, there is some validation flow, or like some continuous integration tool runs in your code, and will validate if your code is good or not. Okay, these validation flows are inner source. You can create your own flow, or you can contribute to other people's flow, and they'll hear. So people will send a pull request. They will say like, okay, maybe I want to check some tests on the Java code, and people write some code, and they change some stuff. To be honest, I don't know Java much, so I don't know what's up here. Some people will validate this, or get some comments, and yeah, inner source. Because they're from different teams and they don't work together usually. Inner source. So there you go. Opus category, they don't have a big part of their app on inner source. Opus category literally tells you categories of products, but they're open to inner source, so we're coaching them how to do it. Okay. Do we have questions so far before I go with other topics? Before I go with other more technical topics? You good? Okay, perfect. All right, perfect. So inner source roles. Okay, so I told you how an inner source project looks like. I told you. Oh, sorry, I have a small problem with my headphones. Can you guys hear me? Okay, is it still working? Okay, yes. Sorry about that.
But I haven't told you how a team is structured, right? Or how does it look like? Well, there's mainly 4 roles in an inner source project. Okay. We have the team members, which is like the core team, for example. In this case, for for example, for the Mosaic project, we will have the people that work every day on Mosaic. Okay, people that work every day on Mosaic will be the team members. Okay, we have the trusted committer, which is a person that will give feedback in pull requests or new feature requests. But the tricky part about this person is that it's not always part of the host team or like the team member team, you know? So for example, here on Mosaic, I think we have Trevor, we have Charles, Geste, and Ahmed, I think. Mohammed? I'm sorry, I don't remember. So these 3 guys are the ones working every day on this project, right? But sometimes there's people outside of their like core team that will be able to give feedback about their code because they're trusted committers. This is a role that is earned, by the way. Like it's like if you send PRs often and you know the code and you are active in the community, you gain like this nice badge, if you want to say it, that allows you to to be more involved in the project and give this feedback. Finally, we also have the contributor. Okay, the contributor will be normal developers, like people that want or need to have a feature added, or they just like the product and they start contributing. Software engineer that codes your requirements or my requirements. Finally, product manager will be the best, the person that gives direction in a particular inner source project. In this case, for example, Mosaic, it's Charles Quest. Charles, I forgot his last name, but he's the guy that usually is on top of like what is the next priority, or like what project are we planning to have on Mosaic. Okay, so this is about the roles. Now, what do we have about the team phases, right? So there's 4. We have the planning, we have the contributing phase, the feedback loop, and the merchant support. For the planning, basically what we want to do is achieve consensus on what to do. Okay, the main focus of this academy will be set here. I will show you guys on the specifics how to achieve consensus. If you have multiple people, I'll give you a checklist so you can follow, so you can at the end, like the output of this planning phase is having a consensus on a lot of Jira tickets, and everyone agrees on what work to do. After you have this planning phase finished, you go to contributing, which is developers are coding these requirements. Okay, I'll show you a technique on how to get developers that are not part of your team. We have a collaboration agreement, so we will discuss that in a minute. Feedback loop. This is this testing phase that usually product managers or engineering managers, tech leads, they're the ones sometimes testing or giving feedback on code or testing the feature. And finally, after everything is approved and tested and it's working good, we merge the code to the main branch, or like to production. And after it's in production, who gives support, right? That's also another topic we will discuss. Usually it's 30 days. There's an agreement that has to be signed and stuff, but yeah. So there's 4 phases: planning, contributing, feedback loop, and merchant support. Okay. So that's it. That's about like the technique, big picture part, but let's go to specifics, right? So how to start doing inner source. There's 3 paths. Okay. Either you want to add inner source to your product, either you want to create a new inner source project from scratch, or you want to improve the existing flow in an existing inner source product. As I understand, we only have people in this seminar for the first 2. Either you want to add inner source to your product that doesn't do inner source now, or you want to create a new inner source project from scratch. Okay. So I made a nice diagram to explain how will it look like. this flow. So yeah, it looks like this. Let's say it's a whole thing, right? But let's say with the first one, I want to add inner source to my existing product. Let's go to this decision tree. I'm planning to do a new product. No, because it's existing already. This product already has inner source. No, because if it does, it's a different thing. Because I'm planning to add inner source to my existing product. Okay, this is when things get tricky. Do I need to have multiple things involved to achieve consensus in a desired feature or something that you will like? Maybe one team wants to put a red button and another team wants to put a blue button. I don't know. If I do, I need to create a request from common requests. We will explain that in a minute. And if I don't require to have multiple teams involved for now, I can just follow a checklist, and that's it. And your product will be officially inner source friendly. And then you can respect PRs from developers. Okay. I will explain about this request for comments framework and this product checklist for inner source in a minute. Which is, but I would like to discuss first a different case. For example, I want to improve. I want to create a new inner source product. So if I want to create a new inner source product, same idea. Follow this decision tree. Planning to do a new product? Yes. Does it involve multiple products? No. If it doesn't, follow a checklist, and if it does, create a request for common framework. So you see, there's two things here that I will show you. Either if you're planning to add a new product or it's improving an existing product, you either need to learn how to follow this checklist or create a request for comments request. So let's start with a checklist. I have it here. There you go. So this is a very simple checklist. You know, we have two versions. This is the beginners newbie friendly checklist because it has less items. That for now it's part of my effort to make it very easy to understand. So if you have a project, you will have a repository, and this repository needs to have 4 things. The first thing is a README, readme.md. So if you go to, for example, to Mosaic design system repository, which is on GitHub, the README will be this guy that tells you who's part of the project, who's contributing to the project, who's maintaining the project, etc. Where is the doc? It's like the entry point for your project, right? It has all the information. It has all the helpful information about your project. So some good things to consider while following how to add or make a better README, guidelines on how to set up the project, who is the core team, who is the product owner, who's taking decisions, you know, all the contributors that are already on the project, and maybe follow some testing process if there's any. If not, it's okay. Link to a documentation, if any. If not, that's actually part of the 4th point. You have to create documentation on how to use your product, because if not, people will get lost. Measure success, contribution number, some statistics so people get excited and about the exposure of their code. Some kind of link to a public roadmap. And yeah, optional, not mandatory. Test this README with a developer. Second point, a roadmap. I'll give you this checklist after, by the way, if you wanna do that. Create a public roadmap. This is very important, so people can, whenever they join to your project, they know what is the bigger picture. Like maybe my request is gonna be solved in like 2 weeks, so I know that I don't need to push too hard, or maybe it's not gonna, and I need to push harder. So having a public roadmap is very important. By the way, GitHub allows you to create public roadmaps like this. So if you guys feel curious, just explore this document. It's very nice. It's very helpful, and it's very easy to set up. A contributing.md file. That file answers to the following questions: who is responsible for code reviews? Let me just show you how it looks in the Mosaic repository. So for example, here we have this guy, contributing.md file, right? They just have a link to a different page, and it tells us here some principles, some instructions for designers and developers. That's fine. From our side, we recommend to add additional information that is going to be very helpful for the developer as well. Who is responsible for code reviews? What is the ETA for, like, how long is going to take for my code to be reviewed? Who is the core team? Normally, maybe you answered this in the README. If you didn't, add it here into the contributing. How to reach your team if something goes wrong. Maybe add some public channels that you have on Slack, on Workplace. I don't know. Add it here. Very important. Do you have some best practices in place so the developers have to follow? Or it's more like free spirit kind of repository or project? The process of taking decisions, how does it look like? If something is broken after I merge my code, who's going to be responsible for that? Public roadmap link. As you can see, there a lot of things are repeated, and I think it's very good because over communicating, usually, especially for projects that require a lot of people involved, is better. Finally, as I mentioned, don't forget to create documentation with whatever project you want. So for example, for Mosaic, their docs are like how to start the project, how to use the project. Why do I need this project? Okay, all of this is answered here on this getting started in this getting started page. Also, the documentation on how to use the components. If something changed, the changelog is very nice. Actually, I like this project a lot because it makes my job easier. It's all there, so I just have to show it instead of like theoretically explain it. So yeah. Finally, we discussed about their checklist that will apply to either you want to create a new product or you want to add inner source to your existing project. You follow this checklist. Now, we discussed also about this request for comments framework, right? It looks like this, okay? First, and remember, the request for comments framework, it's only required when you need multiple people or multiple teams working on the same project and at the same inner source project. It has like, and the reason we have this request for comments framework is because sometimes teams have different way of working together, or they have different ways, and we have a framework to tell them, okay, adapt to this framework, and both of you are on the same page. Okay, so it could look like this. So you have multiple teams working on the same feature. Each team has product owner, has their QAs, has their devs. Yeah. And in this case, for example, we have 2 to 3 teams, but it could be more, could be less, I don't know. And the point of this is to create a transversal teams at the beginning, right? So you have a transversal teams of product owners. So team 1, for example, gives 1 PO, team 2 gives 1 PO, and they have a transversal team that have the background of each respective project. Same for developers and same for QAs. When you create this transversal team, you have to find a way on how to work together with this transversal team. This is the request for comments framework, and let me show you how it looks like. So first, after you created your transversal team, you create a demand. This demand will be, okay, for example, I want to, here on Mosaic, I want to add different button for a different color for my buttons, right? Or I don't know, it's a different button, a different type typography, a different something. The team will be like, as I mentioned, there is a need to create this demand, and this demand, it looks like this. It's a template. It's a ticket that you will launch on Jira. We're in the middle of creating this board on Jira, so you guys can do it yourself. But for now, I'll show you how it looks like. Yeah. So it's a template Okay, that will have what is the name of the task, who is submitting the task, what is the problem, what is the proposed solution, some technical details. As you can see, this is going to be a long Jira ticket, right? There's a lot of things to add here. There's a lot of things to consider on the product side. You will mention a lot of the teams involved, right? So the teams can be actively discussing all the information here. That's part of the next phase to discuss this proposal. So yeah, this request for comments template is created in Jira, and is part of the first phase of the demand. Okay. Yeah, Ahmed, go for it. You're muted.
Sorry, I got a quick question, especially about the demand part. Do we agree that this kind of demand is completely an exception of the PI planning or the quarter review of platforms? So it's clearly a new demand that happened out of those two ceremonies.
That is very true.
Okay.
It's not part. I mean, it's. I cannot tell you like either. Oh, if it was part of it, you cannot create a request, right? Or if it was part of it, but yeah, usually this kind of requests will come because something was not expected or unplanned. So you will do this to have a more documented flow, and in order to like everyone has like gives you time that is not contemplated under planning. So that's how it works.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Amazing. Yeah. So we have the demand. Okay, we create this Jira ticket, and then we set up some communication tools if they don't exist already. So, for example, create the Jira board if it doesn't exist for the project, or an Epic if it exists to manage all the tickets. You also need a Slack channel for more informal discussions. So, yep. Finally, you start the product review. Okay, so this demand that we created before that has all the information of about the proposed feature or the proposed product, whatever, will need to be validated by different people, right? Especially if it's part of different teams. So, for example, here, involved Adeo teams. Let's say your feature involves like 3 teams, right? So all the 3 teams need to be agreeing what's going to happen, like what's going to change in a product, what's new feature is going to be added, in what way, what scope is going to happen, what's up. So they need to achieve consensus, right? This is done in this product review phase, and we have some guidelines or like some questions that are helpful for you to conduct this product review phase. For example, does this feature help achieve our business goals? This feature it's aligned with our existing product. Who's going to use this feature? Is there a market demand for this feature? What is the expected return of investment for this feature? Most of the time, there's some level of agreement. Most of it, and the agreement is bigger than disagreement. So that's why we just give you the whole template of questions to see where is the disagreement, and then you just discuss that on the ticket. And after there's consensus, you can go to the next phase, which is technical review. By the way, also I forgot to mention, most of these reviews we encourage the teams to do them either asynchronously, okay? So that means discussing on the Jira ticket, or yes, you have a meeting like this, but you get, I'm recording this session and I'm gonna get some transcript. Then you can use some EI tool to create some resume or something to discuss the highlights and paste that information on the ticket. The Jira ticket is supposed to be the center of information to show all the historical of all the decision-making process, okay? So if you just have a point and you don't document it on the ticket, it's gonna be, well, people get lost or newcomers will get lost, and etc. Technical review. After the feature it's approved on the product level, we move this feature to the technical review part, where, same idea, we provide some technical questions we provide some technical questions for the engineering tech leads, software engineers, engineering managers to discuss, is this proposed solution technically feasible with our current stack? Will this feature integrate with our current architecture? Imagine you have you're proposing, you have a REST API and you want to add real-time features, right? There's no compatibility. You need to change some stuff. How will we do long-term maintenance? What is the estimated developing time for this feature? Any potential risks in terms of security? Yeah. So after you do this technical review, the engineers are the ones discussing this, also happening on Jira. You move to the next phase, which is quality review. Who's going to test, basically? Who's going to test the feature? Who's going to tell this feature works as expected, is not breaking other stuff? So we also provide some templates of base questions. How can we test this effectively? Do we need to write unit tests, integration tests, performance tests? Do we need some sort of test dump to test this? Who's going to be responsible of testing? How we are going to post? How we want to test for regressions? You know, so all this stuff that is sometimes you don't think about it in the beginning. That's why we provide you this template of questions, and all the discussion is held on the Jira ticket. And after everyone is on the same boat, by the way, if something is not approved, like for example, let's say the technical review highlights something that didn't work, you know, it's like, hey, no, I don't like this real-time feature in my REST API. It comes back to product review, and the product review will change. Okay, not real-time. Let's go for REST API. But after all the steps, is everything goes okay, you get the final approval on the ticket, and then you proceed to communicate to all the teams involved that you're starting development. And then people will start sending PRs, we'll start working in different parts of the app, I don't know, and the coding phase starts. Okay. So quick recap, as I showed you on the diagram in the beginning, here. So how to add inner source to your project? First, you decide if you have a new product. Let's say, no, I have an existing product. So no. Do I involve multiple teams? No. I create the checklist. I follow the checklist, and then I can receive PRs on my product. If I have multiple teams involved, I create a request for common review. After I finish this, I follow the checklist as well, and then multiple teams and multiple PRs. Okay. And finally, if I want to create a product from scratch, well, that's a different topic, right? Like I will need to, if I involve multiple teams, create a request for common request. If not, I just need the inner source checklist. So what I'm trying to say here is that there's two things that you need to, like this, a new process, which is creating this request for common request and following this inner source checklist. If you follow these two things, depending on your context, what you want to do, you're good to go. Okay. So now, very important question. Great. Who gives the money? It's a very tough question because at the moment we have 50% of the solution, and the answer is okay. If there, Pascal is like, yeah, tell me. I wanna hear the good stuff. If there is consensus between all the teams involved, okay. So, for example, I wanna work in Mosaic, and my team, the developer experience team, wants to add a feature on Mosaic, and we all agree that I am the one needing the feature. By me, I mean the developer experience team. If that is the case, if there's consensus between the two parts, you can create something called collaboration agreement. Okay. basically the contributing team is the one that is going to pay. So in this case, the developer experience team will pay because I am the one needing the component. And we all agree on that. And to do that, we have a very quick, I don't think it's this one. Hold on, just give me a second. I need to get the good link. Thomas here. Okay, there you go. I see it. So it's a pretty simple thing. It's just it's a small document that will say which product works on what is the description of the required task, and how many hours are expecting to be required by the developer, and who's signing, who's the stakeholder in both teams, and we all agree. And this, as I mentioned, this is pretty simple because the contributing team is the one that is paying. So I just need to, this agreement is helpful to define how many hours and to what product and for what developers. That's it, and both of these parts sign this collaboration agreement, and you're good to go. Okay. Now, if there is no consensus, in this case, for example, let's say that I want to contribute something to Mosaic as developer experience team, and the Mosaic team, and I'm like, oh, but I'm going to contribute to your product. And the Mosaic team is like, yeah, but I don't need it right now. And then there's like this, but blah, 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 and there's not consensus on who needs the feature more. We're defining, this is work in progress. It's a very controversial topic. Either the contributing team pays or the recipient team pays. There's some sort of middle ground. Someone pays some part, someone pays another part. We don't know yet. We're defining that. But for the moment, if you have consensus, you're good to go. Okay. Do we have any questions so far? Is it clear? How do you guys feel? Put the party head if it's clear for now. Okay, cool. Perfect. Clear for now. All right. I know it's a lot of things to cover, but it's an interesting topic, the inner source. So a few tips. Now I just give you some I give you some technical recommendations on how to implement your projects. Now I'm gonna give you some tips on how to make it more enjoyable. So how to get developers excited about my project. The first one, I think the most important one, is mark your product as a new skill to learn. Most of the open source, inner source community work because they really believe or like the product or the technology on the product. So for example, here on Mosaic, I already contributed to this project by myself as well. Actually, I did some React components, and I learned React because I didn't know how to create a component for this library. For me, it was a challenge, it was something interesting. And I was like, oh, I would like to know how to create a component in our design system. I don't know how to do that. So I asked the guys, and they told me how, no problem. So I contribute, and that was interesting for me. Unpaid, it was just some interesting work for me. So that's the first one. And you mark your project as a new skill to learn. Add in your README what skills you could learn if you contribute to the project. Great, and smooth getting started. So if I want to set up your project in my computer so I can start contributing, it shouldn't take long, Like I work with projects that takes me like 2 days to set up because there's something that is not documented. Oh yeah, you have to define this environmental variable, and no one knows. So you need to do a great getting started. And finally, look for redundant activities in other projects. That's actually how new inner source projects start. It's like, is there many teams doing or working on the same feature? Maybe we can work all together on a inner source project to solve all the same problem with the same project. Okay. Now let's talk about patterns. I'm not gonna go too deep on patterns, but patterns is basically some I'll just show you. Yeah, I think it's just easier. So, for example, 30-day warranty. So we have a problem that is very common in inner source projects. a team develops a component which is used through the organization. This team resists accepting or contributions, or this feature requires this behavior blocks process and leads to frequent disruptions of escalations. So basically, I finish my feature and I don't want to be responsible of it. I don't want to be responsible of giving maintenance to my feature on an inner source project. So how do I fix it? Well, you define a contract of some time of how long are you responsible for this feature. In this case, could be 40, 60, 100 days. It depends on the project, right? Yeah, Pascal, go for it.
Yes. Could you please let me see again the warranty period, because it's very important for in-house lawyer.
You mean?
Yes. Solution and address the fields. Okay. Note that the warranty period could be okay. I will screenshot this.
Oh no need. I'll send you the whole address if you want in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, the patterns, as you can see, are common problems that could happen in an inner source project, and the corresponding solution. Okay. So we have a whole list of patterns.
Okay. Fine.
I'm not gonna read all of this with you, but I will show you 3 and the corresponding solution. Actually, we already saw the contracted contributor part. It's like, okay, people don't have agreement on how many hours each developer will contribute. Well, we have a pattern for that. So I'll show you how the contract looks like. 30-day warranty. What if something goes wrong in some time? Who's gonna fix it? There is a pattern for that. Trusted committer. What if a person doesn't want to do reviews? Well, you can assign that person. So I share the link with you guys. Check if you think relevant. There's a lot of problems here under corresponding solutions, and yeah, that will be for the patterns. Finally, I have a couple of questions that I got asked quite a lot. Can a trusted committer be in multiple projects? Yes, but with caution, because you don't want your trusted committers to be with a lot of work. Do I need to learn Git? Because I show you a lot of GitHub, right? Like here, like writing the README for the Mosaic, for example. Here, this is GitHub, right? Like it's the Google Drive for developers. So this is where we all store our code. Do I need to learn this? Do I need to learn how to like manipulate it? No, because you always can have someone that helps you. But it's very recommendable. It's not too hard. We're gonna do it together. Actually, we're gonna work a little bit on Git on the workshop. So I'll show you how easy it is to modify files and stuff. It's not too hard. Okay. Wow, it took a long time. We took almost an hour on the theoretical part. Is there any questions, guys, for now? Anything that I haven't covered that you might be curious? Any particular questions on implementation of inner source products? Okay, great. Yeah, Ahmed, go for it.
Yes, I have a quick question about the public roadmap. When you show us the document with the whole checklist, do we have to use the project directly in GitHub? So to add a new project and to link it to an existing repository, it will be the way to do that for the ADO inner source framework?
Sorry, I didn't get the question. Can you?
When you say we have to have an open roadmap, do we have to use the project part in GitHub repositories?
Oh, yeah, I get it. That's a good question. Let me just show you.
It's just to be sure which kind of tool we have to use, or if we just need to do it in GitHub.
Okay, so you don't have to do it in GitHub. I will give you it's like a tip, right? Like developers usually prefer to work with GitHub. Okay, but if you tell them, okay, I have my roadmap in Jira because you are more comfortable working with Jira, they will understand. But you have to give them the right like links and make sure that your roadmap is available. So what I will recommend is in the beginning, just start with Jira, because most of the time product managers, you guys feel more comfortable with that. And if the community, if you start saying that the community doesn't respond well to your Jira roadmap, and then no one is using it, or like you get a lot of feedback, it's like, yeah, this is not clear, then you can consider start working with the GitHub roadmap. I don't want to tell you one or another, because it's not. It's just a guideline. It's a suggestion, right? It's just, we're suggesting to start with Jira, and if it's not very well used, switch to GitHub. It's clear. I prefer to work with GitHub, to be honest with you.
Perfect. Me too. That's why I was asking it.
There you go. Yeah. All right. Perfect. We have another question. Yeah, Pierre, go for it.
This to publish and to publish inner source project, or to how to publish or to list or to an inner source project to all potential contributors.
Yes.
What's
how to list an inner source?
how to do that?
That's a good question. Okay, for the moment, it's a two-part answer. For the moment, the way it works now, you create a new project, and this project you have to manually contact the developers directly if you don't get exposure, right? We have a Slack inner source channel here in Slack, for example. So you will go here in inner source, and you go like, hey guys, I'm starting this new project. The technologies that you can use are, I don't know, Express or whatever, Express, JavaScript. I'm looking for contributors if you feel like joining. That will be, and you have to actively do it. That's now. But we're working in a new website called Inner Source Portal. Okay, it will literally be the whole central of. It's gonna be finished in like 1 month. And we're centralizing all the content of inner source, what it is, how to do it, everything. And one of these sections is going to be an inner source marketplace. And this marketplace will list projects that have this inner source friendly tag. And developers will browse through these projects. It's like Tinder, like just checking projects, and it's, oh, okay, this project looks cool. And then they join. That's in a month. But for now, the Slack channel. Okay, perfect. Do you guys have another question? All right. So let's go to the exercise. Okay. So this is a team exercise. We're gonna all collaborate together. So I have a repository here. This is an API, it's not. I'm not gonna show you. It's an API. It shows some JSON and that's it. But the point of the exercise is to make this project inner source friendly. This project is a pet project, by the way. It doesn't exist. The main aim is to create some directory on the people working in Adeo. Not a big deal. It doesn't exist. It's just a pet project that needs to be added inner source compatibility. So we're gonna do it together. Let's use the checklist that I gave you before, and we're gonna fill it. And yeah, you will tell me what to write. I will be the one writing, but you will be like the guys in charge of setting this project as inner source friendly. But you talk, I write. So you guys have any ideas? It's literally an index, okay? And it has a README, and it has this, and that's it. And it has a product info, which is the API, which is just it's just a quick response. It's not a big deal. So actually, let me just run the project if you guys want to see what it is. But it's not a big deal. There you go. I think it was in API employees. So here. And by the way, this is this environment that I'm using is called GitHub Codespace. It's really good, guys. Like it allows you to have your whole development environment in the browser instead of your in your computer. Very powerful. We're recommending to do this to inner source projects so developers don't spend time setting up the project. But we're in the middle of doing that. So this is the API. It returns a list of employees. That's it. Okay. So let's say that at some point I want to make my project inner source friendly. What do I need to do first? Who wanna get started?
To add picture with glasses, drinking mojito and so on.
Oh wow, I love the vibe. Okay, let's make the README fun. So let's find some mojito picture. And ooh, nice. Okay, copy link address. So how do I edit some stuff in GitHub? It's pretty simple. If you guys like, you just click on the file and there's some button here that's like edit, you know, you click it and then you have like a Drive, Google Drive page, you know, you can just start editing stuff in the browser directly. So let's add the picture. So if I'm not mistaken, and to add like images, for example, in Google, in GitHub, you need to follow a special syntax. So if I'm not mistaken, actually I forgot. and me add image, and there's like a cheat sheet or something. Yeah, there you go. So we need to add this. Alt text will be the text, mojito, and then mojito picture. I need to get the address of the picture, so that will be like copy image address. Oh, that's a lot. Okay, let's go for a smaller picture. Hold on. Hold on. Yeah, there you go. Copy image address. Perfect. To write things like in bigger, like big font, you can use this hashtag, and to make it a little bit smaller, 2 hashtags. So welcome to my for inner source project.
Mm-hmm.
A nice picture. Perfect. Anything else you would like to add, guys? What is important to have here on the README, for example?
A small description of our application.
What the app does. This app is in charge of showing a directory, a JSON directory of their employees. Perfect.
New skills that may be developed thanks to this API.
Say again?
New skill that may be developed for the contributor. For instance, you will know how to drive social law, for instance. I don't know.
Use cases, yeah. Use cases will be, for example, yeah, that's a social network connection, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Using in Tangram, other Tangram apps. I don't know. Yep, that's good. Other ideas, guys?
Getting started for the usage of the application.
Nice. The getting started is quite important, actually. This is what developers will read first to set up the project. For here, actually, I told you that I'm using something called CodeSpace, right? So I just need, as you saw, I just press on the code button and then press a green button that was here that says start the CodeSpace, and that's it. For some other projects, requires more setup, but for this project now. So go to code button on top right. Press create code space from master. Start developing. Yep, perfect.
Maybe just after to have the documentation to understand well how the API is working and what are the endpoints that we can call.
Exactly. We have the docs. I mean, I'm not gonna do the docs now, but Usually, for example, either if you have the docs, you can just make a reference. You can have a link. Or if you don't have the, oh, by the way, this is how you add like a link in MD. Oh, sorry, I think I make it wrong. It's this square bracket first and then parentheses. Okay. If you don't have the docs here, you can make the link like this, and very helpful. Another idea?
Maybe the core team.
Yes.
A core team link to the Tangram, and maybe some code owners that can help you to valid PRs.
Absolutely. Core team, let's say it's me for now. And what do you say as well?
Contributors.
Contributors, yeah.
Trusted contributors, sorry.
Yeah. Trusted contributors. We don't have any for now, but okay.
We have Pascal. We have Pascal. We have Pierre, Matthias, and me.
Pascal, Ahmed, Pierre, and
Matthias.
Yeah, thank you.
The deadline, you have to precise the deadline, the ETA.
Oh, this is an interesting point, because usually the deadline, in my perspective, sounds a little bit more like Jira, Jira stuff.
Okay. Not
Something
exactly in the
will change, right? But yeah, another idea, guys.
A link to the public roadmap.
Yes,
Yeah.
very good. Public roadmap. Let's say, as I mentioned before, it could be Jira or GitHub, right? So depends.
Seems to be the MVP.
Yeah, let's double check, the checklist in case we forgot something. How to run the project done, core team, product owner, contributors done, testing process, if any. We don't have any, or maybe we do. Well, let's make it up. Testing process, none. Link to documentation done. Success metrics.
And those metrics are directly available through GitHub, or do we have to add them to say, okay, we have 9 PR open, 1 issue open, etc.?
There is a way to do it automatically. Sometimes repos, I don't know how it works. It's just like copy paste some code, and it will tell you how many contributions you have per year or something. But I don't know how to get the code for now, but it could be automatic, so you don't have to work it every time.
Okay.
Yep. Public roadmap done. There you go. So that's it, guys. We successfully did a very complete README, just following some checklists, and we have a nice picture. So yay. You just in GitHub, it's not immediate to save things. You need to commit. That's the fancy word for save. So you just press the button, and if you refresh this without commit, it doesn't save. So that's why you have to manually specifically set commit. You will. That's it. Commit to the master branch. Maybe update. You can add some description, updated README, and then you commit these things. So there you go. No problem, Pascal. Thank you for joining.
I hope that we'll be involved in this roadmap. For me, it would be great if I could share experience and so on.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining. Have a good rest of your day.
Bye.
So that's it. That's our pretty complete roadmap. We're good to go. Okay. And finally, we need, what else am I missing? You guys tell me. To make it inner source compatible.
We need the contribution file. Yes.
Yes, and actually that does not exist. So we need to create the file. Create new file. The standard is called contributing.md. Okay, and file context here. What do I put in the contributing? You guys tell me.
The code owner part, and maybe how it's work.
What do you mean code owner? Like who's reviewing?
Trusted committers. Sorry.
Yep.
And maybe we are using a code owner file to have some security on the main branch.
That's a very good strategy. That's a very good extra security with so people cannot push directly to the file, to the repo. But in terms of content of the contributing, what do you guys think it's missing? If we don't remember,
The core team.
yeah, checklist. We do.
Yeah. With the core team, yeah.
So I'm gonna start with this guy. Okay. Who's the current responsible for code reviews? Me. It's a very centralized project. What is the ETA? And by the way, normally these questions now, because it's a one-person project, it's just very easy to answer, right? But the bigger you have, this is a 30-minute meeting, to discuss what is a corresponding ETA for code reviews. Let's say 3 days, but maybe some teams don't like that. So that's a thing I think to discuss as well. Who is the core team? We actually put it before. How to reach your team if something goes wrong. Reach DevX in Slack. See, do we have some best practices? Not for now. How does the government process looks like? Well, I gave you one. I actually gave you the request for comments decision process. So as
we can add directly. You can prepare an ERC into the Jira project.
Yeah, exactly. Create and then we can just add a link to this guy. Jira. How long is the support process? Is the support period 30 days? All this kind of stuff of specifics about like details about the contribution itself. This is your file, okay? And if the most data you have in this file, the easier will be for you to work with other people. It's a really good idea to spend some time to populate this. So we finish. There you go. Now we have this check. We have this check. Public roadmap. As I mentioned, we can do it on Jira, or we can do it on GitHub. If you do it on GitHub, it's here on the project part. You can create a project. Not gonna do it now. To be honest, I've never done it in GitHub, so I don't know how it works. But yeah. And finally, some documentation that we said that we're not gonna have. So after this, guys, you see, it took us like 10 minutes, 20 minutes to know what are the parts, or like what is the important data to have this inner source friendly. After you've done this, you're inner source friendly. You can at least expect people to come to your project and start asking how can they contribute, and you have the answer here, so you're good. So that's it. That is it for this part. Now it's time for your project. I prepared a very quick activity for us because you guys explained to me what is your project, what is your product, but with all these contexts that I give you, how inner source works and how yeah, how do we work? How can we implement inner source in a particular project? I would like to listen from you if you have any ideas or something that like makes sense, that you think it will make sense for a project to start implementing, or a new feature to be implemented in inner source. Okay, so I'm just gonna share this link with you guys. It's a spreadsheet. It's a Google Doc, and you can find your name here somewhere here. Pascal is gone, so we just remove her, and that will be it. We're gonna give like 2 to 3 minutes. You guys give it a thought. Maybe you get inspired and you can think about a new feature or project that could implement inner source with your particular ADO context. And let's see how it goes. So 3 minutes, guys, and then
Can you repeat again the objective? Sorry.
of course, yes. So I explained with you in this seminar
Yep.
What is inner source and how can you implement inner source.
Yeah.
Okay, I show you some project examples that are already using inner source. So I would like you guys to discuss, or like to think with yourself in your ADO context, in your projects, in your team, or like in the features that you develop, which features can be inner source friendly, and if you have any, right? If you don't have any, it's okay. You know, like if you like, no, I just work with my team. We're really not inner source now because it's only for us. And yeah, and then we can compare answers to see how can be implemented, or how can we make it happen. Is that clear? Is it better?
Yes. So some concrete example of features which could be developed in my team as inner source.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Or new features, you know, like, or new project, something that you saw. Wow, something. Yeah. So let's give it a couple of minutes, and yeah. Okay, perfect. We finished time. Do you guys need more time, or we can go?
We can go
Okay.
if it's okay for everyone.
Nice. So let's check Ahmed. My brands are selling huge volumes of materials, like bricks, mortar, etc. Quantities can be difficult to handle in funnel. In order to sell quantity with other units, you mean what do you mean other units, like other business units?
No, in on the volume. So for bricks, for example, you have units for one brick, etc. The idea is to sell them directly in a pallet. So with one maybe 60 or 70 bricks directly in one pallet.
Ah, okay. And I like that you went for the literally the feature directly, like in the Jira format. That's very helpful. I want to add a new quantity pallets in my buy box. Yes, and modify classic quantity in order to match with the pallet volume. Okay. So stocks, like stocks and
Yes.
manipulation with, I suppose that the back end of the stocks and the front end of the stocks are different teams or are part of the same team?
In our case, it's on the same team.
Okay, that's helpful. All right. So you will have this feature and maybe some developer team that has not participated with you could be interested in adding this or vice versa. Cool. All right. Matthias, what you got for us? We have a training in Adeo called Cloud Certificate. During these trainings, we use labs for trainees we use labs for trainees to test our tech stack. Those labs are described in a code lab-like format on GitHub. This needs to be improved, but we don't have the resource or skills. Oh, nice. Okay, let's check out your link. Okay. It's like a Git book, but with like some slides, I see, no?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. That's really cool. And you will log to have a copy button so people can copy example and paste on their environments, but I don't know how to do that. So if I come here, there should be like a copy button here.
You can go to lab number 2, for example. Yes, this one, and you will see that people, they have to copy their no, lab number 3. Sorry, the next one.
Oh, 3. Okay.
Yeah, and then
the code.
they have to copy. And at some point when we have a lot of code, it can be difficult for people to select the code and copy and paste.
I did this thing and I remember.
Basic in many cases, but I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, and this page is in Angular or like.
I put the GitHub repository. It's MD Markdown. It's described in Markdown, and then we use tool provided by Google called Platt yeah. That's labs that not this one. You have labs.md. Yes, this one. We just described our labs in this file, and then the pipeline generates the HTML files.
I got it. And the pipeline is where?
In the .github/workflows. Yeah. So we use a tool called Platt.
Okay. So, okay, yeah, very clear. The person responsible of doing that will have to learn how to use GitHub workflows and how to.
We have someone created this format for me. Then we are just using the labs.md file, but I would like to improve it so that we can have for example, copy paste button. But I don't know how to do it. I'm sure that someone within the other group knows how to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. It shouldn't be too hard. Maybe if you work with this Google Labs before.
If I create a contributing .md file, you can do it for me, right?
Yeah, sure. Or at least we can list your project in Open Source Friendly and somewhere else.
Yep.
So yeah, very very good example actually. Very very described. Okay, Pierre, we got in production an API written in Python to create a firewall template into a centralized management console managed by Adeo. I would like to develop a feature in my API in order to be able to manage multiple management consoles. So a management console management dashboard or something like this.
It's focused on my job, so network and the infrastructure, and that's the question. But to to understand for you, it's imagine an API that it's the firewall are a vendor solution. Okay, the vendor propose an API, and of course we deploy our own homemade API. Okay, to deploy firewalls, for example. Okay, and to do that, in fact, with our homemade API, we control a centralized management console. Okay, from the vendor. Okay.
Okay.
And so it's working, but because now new management console are deployed in ADO business unit. So if I want to continue, if I want to be able to continue to use my API and manage, as now I have a new need is to allow my API. Maybe it's just a new input. Select which management console to contact or something like that. But just to understand the concept.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
an evolution. It's a new need, so it's a new feature. Yeah.
So the person responsible of like adding this new button or like this new feature will need to learn how to, for example, use Python if they don't know, or like
Yeah. As a requirement, it's a Python language.
with your API. Cool. Yeah, that's very clear. Do you have the repository? Maybe we can. Private?
Not in my team, but not me. Not.
Okay, no problem.
Let me check in 1 minute, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, if you don't have it, it's okay. I just wanted to, like see if you guys have some getting started or some contribution guidelines. But you already learned how to do that, so I mean, you could tell your team later if you guys are interested in receiving these contributions as well. But no worry, it's not a big deal. You don't have it. All right, perfect. Well, guys, I see that each one of you had different ideas, inputs, but everything has the same purpose, which is allowing people to help you. So if you follow the practices that we suggested, it's gonna start happening slowly but steady. Like we're trying to change that cultural change. Like cultural mindset change. So people start contributing to other people's projects. So it takes some time, but we'll get there. Okay, so last but not least, we have a game. I have a game for you guys. It's gonna take us 2 minutes. So I'm gonna set it up. No music and 2 minutes and clapping. Yes, perfect. So I'm gonna paste the link of the game on the screen. There you go. So you should go here. We're gonna ask you some questions about inner source, and yeah, let's see how it goes.
One moment. Okay. Reload.
Okay, perfect. So we're ready. The way it's gonna work, it's in your screen. You're gonna see some questions and some answers, and you obviously have to pick the right answer. And if you answer all the questions, they're gonna appear again. So just answer again. And every time you answer, you get some money. If you answer quickly, you get more money. So that's it. Okay, let's go. Oh,
The
sorry.
German, yes.
We have Matthias as the richest person in the game.
Yeah, and so fast.
Yeah.
First.
He really got the vibe. Let's check the questions to make sure that we're still on the same path. What is the key guideline to follow when encountering issues during the contributing phase? Reach out on public channels. This is very important. I don't think I highlighted that much as I should, but whenever there's a problem, reaching out instead of just making meetings is in public channels is more effective. Who's the one responsible of setting the project duration? Of course, the product owner. What is the primary responsibility of a team member in inner source? Well, working team feature and core features. It's like the core team. In an inner source project, oh yeah, Ahmed, go for it.
Yes, I just have a question about the last one. What is the primary responsibility of a team member in inner source?
Yeah.
Normally, about all core features, inner source can also work on it, no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It can, but the difference is between that these guys, the team member, usually works full time on the project.
Okay.
So the only responsibility is to work in core features.
So we have the distinction between the core team, which is 100%
Yes.
Available for the product, and the inner source team, who can be only available like 20 or 30% of
Depends
the time.
on the agreement. Exactly.
Perfect.
Okay. What happens after the 30-day initial support period provided by the contributing team? The hosting team takes over support responsibilities, of course. To secure people on inner source projects, what do I do? Create a collaboration agreement. If I have a feature project that requires multiple teams involved, what do I do first? Create a request for comments ticket. That's the first thing you need to do whenever you have multiple teams involved. And you can do later, like the reach out and public channels or create a meeting, but first these requests. During the merge and support phase of an inner source project, who is responsible for giving the support after the code is contributing team? who is the main who is the main role of a trusted, what is the main role of a trusted community in inner source? Reviewing and providing feedback on code contributions. Okay. So perfect, guys. Congratulations on being officially certified as a inner source expert. We cover a lot of topics today. I hope it was helpful for you. Last but not least, I will just like to ask 30 seconds of your time and for you. I wish I'll just have a survey for you. If you can give some feedback about the session, what you thought about it? If there's something that you will remove, something you will add, please post it there. We're very open to contributions. After this, I mean, you're ready to go out on the wild and either start your own inner source projects or add inner source to your projects. We're here to help you. So if at some point you got stuck or you need some extra help, push, recommendation, suggestion, please reach us out. We're the developer experience channel, or just reaching the inner source in Slack, inner source channels on Slack. So that's it, guys. Do you have any other question, comments, or something we discussed before I let you go?
Yeah. So maybe I would need if you can share the checklist.
Yeah, absolutely.
The template, the guide.
Sorry, I forgot to mention about this. We're gonna send you a follow-up email with all the links, like the presentation.
Okay.
With the Don't worry about
it. I concretely need it to share it in my team, and maybe a last question. You show us kind of process for the inner source. Just my question is, I suppose it's just use GitHub is the only solution to implement this process. I mean, imagine a validation, a peer review, or pull request is done and review by some contributors, and I don't know, the process is in GitHub.
That's a good question. Let me just show you how it looks.
And the question is there a template of process, or is it? I'm not a developer, okay, so I'm not
absolutely
dealing with GitHub every day. So my question is there a specific template that include inner source process or not?
Okay, I'll share you my thoughts on this. So you remember we discussed the project phases, right? About the planning phase, contributing phase, the feedback loop, and merchant support. Most of the things that we saw today was for this first phase, for the planning phase, okay? And what we recommend for this planning phase is to use Jira, not GitHub. So that means using Jira for creating these tickets, to having these discussions. We actually provide you some templates to create these requests. We have some guidance questions for guiding any type of discussion held on the planning phase. Whatever is like, okay, we need to, before coding, nothing is related to code for now. Now, after you have this consensus on what to do and you have a list of tickets or tasks to do on Jira, you go to the next phase, which is to contribute, like when you code, or like the developers code. For this, the reviews are not held on Jira. They are held on GitHub, of course.
Yeah.
And for that, we don't have anything yet. Most of the effort was focused on the planning phase. And the reason of we don't have any templates or something is because the process of code review, it's kind of like well known by developers now. Like they they know how to write, hey, I think you can change this function for another. Like the process is well known. So of course we could create some guidelines, but the priority now was to set the guidelines for the planning phase. And as I mentioned, this is most of it is held on GitHub, and the developers technically they know already how to do it. So you should be good.
Okay, clear.
Perfect. You have another question, or all of you guys? All right, cool. Well, please do expect this email in the following days with all the links, any other additional stuff. Please reach us out if you got any questions. And well, I have to say goodbye, guys. It was a pleasure to meet you and share this topic with you. I hope you enjoy, and I wish you a great week and the rest of your weekend as well.
Thank you,
Thank
Manuel.
you, Manuel.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.